Have you ever noticed how two people born around the same time can live completely different lives, as if they were walking on different invisible roads? And have you ever wondered why certain lessons keep repeating for you? Like life is tapping the same spot until you finally pay attention? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are exploring a topic that sounds playful at first, but can become surprisingly practical when you approach it with wisdom. The last digit of your birth year is often treated like a quick personality trick, something to shock your friends with at a party. But I want to treat it differently. I want to treat it like a mirror, not a label, a hint, not a prison, a way to notice tendencies, so you can practice more skillfully, reshape karma, and shift destiny. Before we go any further, let me say something clearly. Buddhism does not teach that you are trapped by a number. Buddhism teaches cause and effect, intention and consequence. Patterns exist, but patterns can be transformed. In other words, even if a digit points at a habit, the habit is not your identity. And even if you have a tendency, your next choice still matters more than any prediction. So here is the heart of what we are doing today. We are using the last digit as a storytelling device to help you recognize the kinds of attachments on blind spots that often shape your life. Then we are applying awakening, wisdom, compassion, and practice to transform those tendencies, not to become perfect, to become freer. Let me tell you a story that will make the whole ideal and in a way that feels real. In a crowded city where people were always late and always tired, there was a small tea shop hidden on a side street. It was not famous, no big sign, no bright marketing, but people who found it tended to return because the owner had a way of listening that made customers feel like their mind finally had room to breathe. The owner was an older man named Ann. He never introduced himself as a teacher. He simply served tea. But people gradually realized that when you spoke to him, you started noticing your own patterns, not because he judged you, but because he asked questions that were simple and sharp. One rainy afternoon, a group of young people came into the tea shop to escape the weather. They were friends, classmates, co-workers, a mixed group. They sat around a table and started talking about a popular trend they had seen online. The trend claimed that the last digit of your birth year could reveal your destiny. They laughed, teased each other, and began sharing their birth years. Someone said, "If your last digit is this, you are stubborn. If it is that, you are emotional. If it is something else, you are destined to be rich." The conversation was playful, but underneath the laughter, something more serious was hiding. Each of them, in their own way, was hungry for certainty. They wanted a map. They wanted a guarantee. They wanted to know they were not wasting their life, and listened while polishing cups. He did not interrupt. Then one of the young people turned to him and asked, "Hey uncle, do you believe this kind of thing?" And smiled gently. "I believe that people repeat patterns until they become aware. If a number helps you notice a pattern, it can be useful. If a number makes you cling to an identity, it becomes another chain." The group went quiet. One girl asked, "So are you saying the last digit means nothing?" And poured tea slowly. "I am saying it can mean something, but not the way people think. It does not control you. It reflects you. And what it reflects is not fate carved in stone, but habits carved in mind." Then he asked them a question. "Why do you want to know what the digit means?" A boy shrugged. "For fun." Dan nodded. "Fun is fine. But if fun is covering fear, then fun becomes avoidance." He looked at them kindly. "Are you afraid about your future? Nobody answered immediately, which was answer enough, and continued, "Let us do this in a Buddhist way, not predicting, practicing. We will treat each last digit as a mirror for a common karmic tendency. Then we will talk about the practice that transforms that tendency into wisdom and compassion. If you can do that, your destiny changes, regardless of what number you were born with." They leaned in and said, "First, we need a rule. Do not use this to judge others. Use it to observe yourself. Second rule, do not use it as an excuse. Use it as a responsibility. Third rule, whatever tendency you see, remember that it is a conditioned pattern. Conditioned patterns can be trained." Then he began. He said, "People with last digits 0 or 5 often carry a strong theme of change and transition. They feel life in cycles. They are sensitive to turning points. Their karma often involves restlessness, the urge to keep moving, the fear of being trapped. They can be brave, adaptable, and fast to learn, but they can also become addicted to novelty, always searching for the next thing, never fully arriving." A boy at the table laughed. "That is me. I cannot stay in one thing too long. I start projects and then get bored." Anne nodded. "That is not a sin. It is a tendency. The practice for this tendency is steadiness, not the dead kind of steadiness that becomes stubborn, the living kind that can stay present without needing constant stimulation. In Buddhism, this is training in concentration and patience. You learn to sit with boredom without turning boredom into panic. You learn to finish what you start, not because finishing makes you superior, but because finishing strengthens the mind." The boy frowned. "But what if I am just meant to be a free spirit?" And smiled. "Free spirit is beautiful, but freedom without discipline often becomes slavery to impulse. Real freedom is being able to choose, not being dragged by craving." The boy went quiet and continued. "People with last digit 1 or 6 often carry a theme of responsibility and identity. They want to be seen as reliable. They often become the one others lean on. Their karma often involves perfectionism, self-pressure, and a deep fear of disappointing people. They can be caring and loyal, but they can also become rigid, controlling, and exhausted." Woman at the table swallowed. "That is me. I feel guilty if I rest," and nodded. The practice for this tendency is compassion, especially self-compassion. You learn that caring does not require self-destruction. You learn that boundaries are not selfish. They are wisdom. You also learn to release the need to be the hero in every situation, because that need is often ego wearing a good mask. The woman whispered, "If I do not do it, nobody will," and looked at her gently. "That sentence is the root of your suffering. Sometimes it is true that you are the most responsible one, but if you believe it is always true, you will never let others grow. You will also never let yourself breathe." Practice means learning to do what is needed without clinging to the identity of being needed. And continued. "People with last digit 2 or 7 often carry a theme of sensitivity and insight. They feel moods in a room. They notice hidden meanings. They can be intuitive, thoughtful, and deeply compassionate, but their karma often involves anxiety, overthinking, and emotional absorption. They can take on other people's pain until they feel drowned." A quiet girl nodded slowly. "That is me. I feel everything. It is too much." And said, "The practice for this tendency is clarity and protection of the heart. In Buddhism, compassion must be guided by wisdom. Wisdom means you can care without merging. You can help without carrying. You learn to observe feelings as waves, not as commands. You learn that empathy without boundaries becomes suffering, and suffering does not help anyone. And continued. People with last digit 3 or 8 often carry a theme of ambition and expression. They like movement, achievement, influence. They have power energy. They can inspire others. They can lead. But their karma often involves pride, impatience, and attachment to status. They can become trapped in comparison, always measuring, never satisfied. A man at the table smirked. "That sounds like my boss, but also me," and nodded. The practice for this tendency is humility and right intention. Ambition is not evil, but ambition must be cleansed. Ask yourself, am I chasing success to serve others or to feed insecurity? In Buddhism, when you act from insecurity, you create endless craving. When you act from service, you create meriting inner peace. Humility does not mean shrinking. It means seeing clearly that your worth is not dependent on winning. And continued. People with last digit 4 or 9 often carry a theme of intensity and completion. They are often deep, strong-willed, sometimes stubborn, sometimes fiercely principled. They can endure. They can commit. They can finish. But their karma often involves holding grudges, rigidity, and difficulty letting go. They can cling to old pain like it is a moral duty. A man in the backside. "I cannot forgive. I remember everything." And nodded. The practice for this tendency is letting go through wisdom. Forgiveness is not approval. Forgiveness is releasing poison from your own bloodstream. When you cling to resentment, you are practicing suffering every day. The Buddha taught that hatred does not end hatred. Hatred ends when it is not fed. Letting go is not weakness. It is liberation. The group sat in silence for a moment. The rain outside sounded softer now, as if the conversation changed the weather inside their minds. Then one of them asked the question that always comes, "So which digit is best?" and smiled. The best digit is the one you use to awaken. Every digit is both gift and trap. Every tendency can become wisdom or suffering depending on practice. They wanted more, so and gave them a deeper layer. He said, the last digit can also be used as a reminder of a specific training focus, not because the universe demands it, but because your mind benefits from a clear direction. He looked at the boy with 0 or 5 energy. Your training is to finish one thing, not 10 things. 1. Choose one daily practice, 10 minutes of sitting, 1 page of study, 1 small act of service. Finish it every day for 30 days. This will reshape your karma of restlessness into wisdom of steadiness. He looked at the woman with 1 or 6 energy. Your training is to rest without guilt. Schedule small rest like medicine. When guilt arises, name it, guilt, then return to the breath. Practice giving your nervous system permission to be human. Also practice saying no once a day in a respectful way. No is a spiritual word when used with compassion. He looked at the sensitive girl with 2 or 7 energy. Your training is to protect your energy. Begin each day with a simple intention. May I be compassionate without absorbing. When you feel flooded, place a hand on your chest and breathe slowly. Remind yourself, these feelings are passing conditions, not identity, not prophecy. He looked at the ambitious man with 3 or 8 energy. Your training is to offer your effort as service. Each morning ask, who benefits from my work today? When you feel comparison, name it, comparing. Then choose gratitude. Gratitude cuts the craving loop. Also practice a small anonymous good deed each week, so your ego learns to act without applause. He looked at the intense man with 4 or 9 energy. Your training is to release one resentment, not all at once. 1. Write it down. Then ask, what am I protecting by holding this? Often it is pride, often it is fear. Then practice a compassion phrase. May I be free from this burden. May they be free from the ignorance that caused harm. This does not excuse them. It frees you. The group was quiet again. Then the boy asked something that sounded casual but was actually deep. If I do these practices, will my destiny change? Anne nodded. Not always in the way you expect, but yes, because destiny is not only events. Destiny is the mind that meets events. When the mind changes, your responses change. When responses change, results change. This is cause and effect. Then he told them the real story behind the digit game. He said, long ago, in another town, there was a young man obsessed with fortune-telling. He visited readers, studied charts, asked about numbers. He wanted to know whether he would be rich, whether he would be loved, whether he would live long. He spent years chasing predictions and became more anxious with every answer, because answers always produced new questions. Finally, he visited a monk. He asked the monk, what does my birth sign say about my destiny? The monk asked, how do you treat people when you are stressed? The young man said, I get sharp. I blame others. The monk asked, how do you treat yourself when you fail? The young man said, I insult myself and panic. The monk asked, how do you act when you want something? The young man said, I chase it and cannot rest until I get it. The monk nodded and said, your destiny is not hidden in the sky. It is visible in these habits. If you keep these habits, your future will be tight and painful, even if you get what you want. If you change these habits, your future will become spacious, even if you face hardship. The young man asked, so what is my sign? The monk smiled. Your sign is clinging. Your element is fear. Your unlucky star is ignorance. Your lucky star is practice. The group in the tea shop smiled at that, but they also felt the sting, because they recognized themselves. And continued, this is why I say the digit is only a mirror. If it helps you see your clinging, it is useful. If it makes you cling to an identity, it becomes another problem. One of the friends asked, but what about karma from past lives? Can a digit show that? And answered carefully, we cannot prove past lives by a digit, but we can observe karmic patterns in this life. And if you transform patterns now, you are transforming whatever momentum you carry, whether it began yesterday or long ago. Buddhism focuses on practice, not speculation. Speculation can be endless. Practice is immediate. Then he said something that changed the whole mood. You want to be shocked. Here is the shock. Most people do not suffer because of their digit. They suffer because they do not train their mind. They suffer because they keep feeding the same mental habits and call it personality. They suffer because they confuse condition with destiny. The group said quietly, the rain outside had slowed. Someone took a sip of tea inside, as if the warmth finally reached the stomach. Now let me bring this to you personally, because you might be listening and thinking about your own last digit right now. If your digit is 0 or 5, watch your relationship with novelty. Ask yourself, do I chase stimulation because I am afraid of stillness? Practice staying with one ask until it is done. Practice a daily sitting habit, even short. Your karma transforms when you stop running. If your digit is 1 or 6, watch your relationship with responsibility. Ask yourself, do I help because I love, or because I fear being rejected if I do not help? Practice resting without apology. Practice setting one boundary. Your destiny transforms when you stop confusing worth with sacrifice. If your digit is 2 or 7, watch your relationship with emotion. Ask yourself, do I absorb other people's mood and call it compassion? Practice clarity. Practice noticing feelings as waves. Practice compassion with boundaries. Your karma transforms when you stop drowning in empathy and start using wisdom. If your digit is 3 or 8, watch your relationship with achievement. Ask yourself, do I chase status to cover insecurity? Practice service. Practice anonymous kindness. Practice gratitude. Your destiny transforms when ambition becomes compassion instead of craving. If your digit is 4 or 9, watch your relationship with control and memory. Ask yourself, do I cling to pain because letting go feels like losing dignity? Practice forgiveness as release. Practice flexibility. Practice letting your mind soften without losing your strength. Your karma transforms when you stop carrying poison as proof of being right. And please remember, none of this is about blaming yourself. Blame is another trap. This is about awakening. Awakening is simply seeing clearly what you are feeding. Wisdom is choosing what to feed instead. Compassion is treating yourself and others as beings shaped by conditions. Practice is repeating the choice. Destiny is what grows from repeated choices. Let me close with a reflection that often helps people stop clinging to these kinds of predictions. Even if a digit could accurately describe your tendencies, it still cannot predict your next moment of courage. It cannot predict the day you finally apologize. It cannot predict the morning you choose discipline over impulse. It cannot predict the moment you forgive and feel lighter. These moments are where karma turns. These moments are where destiny shifts. I have seen people with restless minds become steady through simple daily practice. I have seen responsible people learn boundaries and become happier, not colder. I have seen sensitive people learn clarity and stop being overwhelmed. I have seen ambitious people turn success into service and become peaceful. I have seen intense people release grudges and regain joy they thought was gone forever. The digit did not save them. Practice saved them. Thank you for being here with me. Now I want to hear from you. What is the last digit of your birth year? And which tendency in this story felt most accurate for you? Share your experience in the comments and share what practice you want to try this week. If you want more stories that turn Buddhist wisdom into daily life, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay connected. Until next time, keep awakening, keep practicing, keep choosing compassion, and remember that the most powerful prediction is the intention you choose right now.